Tonight on Connecticut's news station, remembering a fallen officer.
Remember this fallen officer as he smiles on us from heaven.
Friends and family honoring Detective Robert Garten.
We're a tight-knit community. We're a family.
A community coming together to show their support and pay their respects.
It's heartwarming to see the support that they're getting from all over the United States, and they need that.
We have live team coverage as we say goodbye to a hero. A somber day in the capital city. The community comes together to remember the life of a fallen officer killed in the line of duty. Thanks for joining us here on the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Sarah Sanchez.
And I'm Brent Harden. Calling hours are underway right now for Detective Robert Garten. We have live team coverage tonight as we continue to remember and honor Detective Garten.
Let's send it right over to Fox 61's Matt Caron, who is live outside Duncan Park where the wake is taking place. Matt.
Well, people have been coming and going all day long to pay their respects. They'll be able to do so until 7 o'clock tonight for the wake here of Robert and Bobby Garten. And you're right, it was a very emotional day. And not just for the first responders, but for the family and the friends and even complete strangers. It was really a day where words just simply were not enough. The clarion call of the pipes. The roar of the engines. This is what the Thin Blue Line looks and sounds like.
We all do this job every day. It's the same job no matter where you do it.
They came from near and far. Hinsdale, Mass. is where Officer Brian Kearney started his career.
He's a great guy. I know a lot of people that are really good friends with him still in town.
Kearney, still in a wheelchair, led the Hartford Police contingent in their somber march.
I'm heartbroken.
As the motorcade carrying the body of posthumously promoted Detective Robert Bobby Garten arrived at Duncan Park, hearts were heavy.
Words cannot explain. If you've been a policeman, if you've walked the walk, talked the talk, this hurts. This hurts. It could have been any one of us at any time.
Tina Manello worries every night it could be her son. He works in Bobby's street crimes unit.
It was a tragic loss to his squad. I work in the city of Hartford, and so much negative publicity is given to the police sometimes that they have to know that there are good guys out there that want to take care of the city.
On hand to help guide the grieving process, Hartford Police chaplains.
We have to, just for the officers so that they can grieve, but then also for our community. And I think this is an amazing sign of unity.
A hero's send-off for a humble man. Detective Robert Bobby Garten. End of watch September 6th, 2023. Thank you for your service, sacrifice, and smile. Your brothers and sisters in blue will take it from here. And you may have noticed that Officer Brian Kearney was carrying a folded American flag in his lap. That is the United States Honor Flag. It hung above the rubble at Ground Zero, and now it travels to law enforcement funerals across the country. It is the very same flag that Bristol police officer Alec Ayerado carried into Rentschler Field just last October. We're live here outside Duncan Park in Hartford. Matt Caron, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Matt, thank you. And men and women in blue coming from near and far today to show their support for a fallen fellow officer.
Fox 61's Samaya Hernandez continues our team coverage now, showing us how the community is coming together tonight.
This department still has a job to do even while it is grieving, and today we're seeing the entire law enforcement community step up so that officers can take time to grieve. A capital city at a standstill. Officer Brian Kearney, the sole survivor of the crash that claimed the life of Detective Robert Bobby Garten, leading a police department in mourning. Detective Garten was 34 years old last Wednesday when he was hit and killed by a teen fleeing a traffic stop, a line of duty death Hartford hasn't experienced in 27 years.
Mixed emotions, and then they still have to continue to serve and protect the city. So I think this is a sensitive time that we need to keep them in prayer.
Prayer is precisely what Barbara Pivarnik was doing with a Catholic worker peace group in the North End before paying respects to Detective Garten at the home of the Yard Goats.
We were just at a vigil praying for peace everywhere, and I'm particularly remembering this officer and families. Flowers from Hartford just growing on the street in his memory, and hope to bring them over.
Friday marking the first of a 2-day send-off for an 8-year veteran of the Hartford Police Department, remembered as the one who was always smiling.
There are a lot of things that we go through day in and day out that only those who do that job can possibly wrap their head around.
State police stepping away from troops across Connecticut Friday, volunteering to cover traffic duty, so this force can take time to honor its fallen brother.
It's important for all of us to show support for the department that suffers a loss because everybody understands that it could be any one of us at any time.
Officer Garten's wake is open to the public here at Duncan Park through 7 o'clock tonight. In Hartford, I'm Samaya Hernandez, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Samaya, thank you. Tomorrow morning, several roads in Hartford will be closed as that celebration of life service is held for Detective Garten. It's taking place tomorrow morning at the XL Center beginning at 10 a.m. The event is open to the public, and several roads surrounding the XL Center will be closed, but there will be parking options available nearby. Then in Wethersfield, several roads there also closed due to the procession. They'll be closed between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. For more information on the services for Detective Garten, visit fox61.com and the Fox 61 app. You can count on Connecticut's news station for complete coverage today and tomorrow.
Now, the Fox 61 Weather Watch with Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank.
It is certainly not every day that you see a hurricane off the northeast coast, but this is Hurricane Lee, a very large and powerful hurricane with hurricane force winds extending up to 100 miles from the center and tropical storm force winds extending 300 miles from the center of the storm. It is forecast to make its closest pass to us heading into tomorrow morning, but luckily the worst is going to miss. It'll be over 250 miles to the east of Connecticut, and then it will head up into Nova Scotia. In terms of the worst impacts from this storm, Cape Cod, any shoreline here that faces the Atlantic Ocean will get rip currents and rough surf. But I think the worst storm surge will end up being for Nova Scotia. That's also where the worst winds will be with this storm as well. For us in the United States, Maine will get some of the worst of that. In Connecticut, though, some of us will stay completely dry. There is a chance for a spot shower in eastern Connecticut, but no flooding rain, no coastal flooding, no travel issues here in Connecticut. The only thing we have to deal with are some gusty winds as we head through the day tomorrow, and you're actually already starting to feel them right now as well. That could result in an isolated outage, but we're honestly not really expecting too much out of it. We're already seeing those winds out there right now. We'll take you through the weekend forecast coming up in just a bit.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Well, new tonight, a worker at the Wapping Fair has been arrested for allegedly throwing a shoe at a fairgoer. Police say 26-year-old Marcia Nennis of New Hampshire threw the shoe at a juvenile while working the fair. Nennis was released on $10,000 bond and is due in court later this month.
Norwich Fire responds to an e-bike fire. Crews say they went to the lofts at Ponema Mills on Norwich Ave, where an e-bike was smoldering in a bike rack. Firefighters quickly put out the flames and determined the fire started when the bike's battery pack exploded. One car was also damaged by the fire.
And new tonight, Governor Ned Lamont is calling for a special session to consider his nomination to the Connecticut Supreme Court. Lamont nominated Nora Danahy to serve as an Associate Justice. The special session will begin Tuesday, and a public hearing will be held for the Judiciary Committee to vote on the nomination. Then the full legislature will vote. Governor Lamont plans to issue a second special session later this month to consider legislation that changes the date for Connecticut's presidential primary.
It's official. Party-endorsed challenger Gino DiGiovanni is the Republican nominee for mayor in Derby. That's where we find Fox 61 political reporter Emma Wolford. She's been following this race and the recount.
Well, the votes here in Derby have been counted and recounted. Friday's recanvass taking just over an hour to complete and returning the same results as Tuesday's primary. Challenger Gino DiGiovanni winning by just 10 votes.
No change.
Derby alderman and party-endorsed candidate Gino DiGiovanni officially winning the Republican nomination for mayor with just 202 votes.
I was confident that the results were going to hold.
This Derby primary saw about 31% turnout Tuesday, just 394 total votes. Official results show DiGiovanni up by just 10 over current mayor Richard Zekin, and that 10-vote margin triggering an automatic recount. Zekin garnered just 192 votes in this race. He's running for his 4th term as mayor, but did not seek his party's endorsement, instead collecting enough signatures to trigger this primary.
That's going to be a tough battle for him with his baggage that he's carrying right now. So I feel very comfortable.
DiGiovanni's baggage, federal charges he's currently facing for entering the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021.
If that's baggage, I'll take it for whatever his comment was. But this is the first time in Derby's history this race is on a national scale.
DiGiovanni was arrested last month and tells me there won't be any movement in his case until after the November general election, but says he welcomes the national attention.
If everybody in the country nationwide and not just statewide want to interview me and bring Derby and put Derby on the map, I'll take that.
As a petitioning candidate, Zekin's name will still be on the ballot in November, despite losing this primary. Zekin saying Friday this is just a little battle and he's going for the war.
You can't make everybody happy every day, but I'm still confident that we're going to have enough votes to carry us through for another term.
And the general election will take place in just under 2 months on November 7th. Reporting in Derby, Emma Wolforst, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Emma, thank you. Local leaders are demanding answers about the Coast Guard Academy's alleged mishandling of sexual assault allegations found as part of an investigation called Operation Fouled Anchor. Senator Richard Blumenthal has sent a new letter to the Coast Guard asking for all records related to that operation so they can be reviewed and take the appropriate next steps. Operation Fouled Anchor found dozens of sexual assault cases from 1988 to 2006 were mishandled.